What?
Everything okay?
Oh. Yeah, but until the lights come on, we're good. There you go.
Just come on over here, Bill.
From Uhas McGinley Stadium in Penn Hills tonight, it's the WPIAL 5A Northern Conference Championship between the Indians of Penn Hills and the Indians of North Hills High School. A very pleasant and a beautiful Friday evening to you. Along with my broadcast partner, Nicholas Callis, I'm Bill Navari. And Nicholas, tonight, a pair of Indians vying for the right to be number one in the conference.
Yeah, it's going to be, should be a good one tonight. We expect that. It should be mentioned that Penn Hills has not lost a conference game since the 2017 season. This team's gone 13 straight wins in conference, went 7-0 last year, went all of last season undefeated. This year, Penn Hills has one loss in a non-conference game to Pine Richland. North Hills hasn't done too poorly either. There was just a skid in late September, early October, where it lost the games to Peters Township Gateway, and then that conference games to Mars, and that was its only conference loss to Mars back on October the 4th, but beat Armstrong handily 42-0, and then beat Shaler 19-2. And North Hills has an opportunity to come out now with some more momentum. Now, I talked about during the pregame scoreboard show for the Trib Live High School Sports Network how Penn Hills has struggled in the month of September with facing conference opponents toward the top and around the middle. Kiski area was one of them back on September the 20th, only won 7-3. And that was a result of some miscues with handoffs with the running backs and some penalties that it just had trouble with. The final score of the Mars game back on September the 13th was 14-7. So it almost lost conference games this year, but was able to squeak away, getting away with 7-win margins, 4-win margins. And again, has went on a hot streak, now beating Armstrong, Hampton, Shaler, and Baldwin to make it here with a 6-0 conference record and 8-1 overall. And that's Penn Hills I'm talking about, the Penn Hills Indians.
Tonight's game, if things go as they could, we may be out of here at 9 o'clock tonight. The North Hills Indians, they are a running team. They like to run the ball. They throw very little. They're heavy, run-heavy attack. Two top backs, Curtis Foskey and Tom McDonough. They run the ball, does North Hills. Last week, Penn Hills went into a run-style offense where they had long drives and kept Baldwin off the field. In fact, in the second half last week, Baldwin had the ball 3 times. And the last possession was to close out the game.
Wow.
So they've kept the opponent off the field, and they did it by running the football. You know, their Indians are led by their quarterback, Eddie McKissick, but their leading rusher is Jamar Howard, who could break 1,000 yards tonight. He has 943 yards, and he's averaging over 9 yards a carry. So if the Indians can get the ball into Jamar Howard's hands and get him moving, I mean, the Indians of Penn Hills, that is. The one word we cannot use tonight, Nicholas, is Indians.
Yeah, we can't.
You know, if the Penn Hills can run the ball the way they did last week, and North Hills being the running team that they are, this may be a very fast game. Indy. Penn Hills will get the ball to start things off. North Hills kicking it away. And Penn Hills will start at their own 32-yard line.
Looked like a squib kick there by North Hills. Not sure if that was intended or not, but either way, it gives Penn Hills ideal field position to start this football game.
Well, it was not an onside kick because it went semi-deep.
Didn't have an arc to it. It was flat, as you saw.
The Penn Hills will get things started. Red helmets, red jerseys, gold pants. North Hills decked out in all white. McKissick's quarterback tosses this way. Howard looks for a little bit of a lane, has one across the 35 out to the 36-yard line. Howard will pick up 4 yards to start things off here in the first quarter.
Tackle was made by one of the sophomore linebackers, Alec Apodaca. 5'10", 170 pounds off that right side of the line. That was Jamar Howard there, one of the senior running backs, getting the handoff from McKissick. Short gain on the play, sets up a third down there, just short of the 40 there. Official spots on the 39.
Indians third and about 4. Penn Hills third and 4. McKissick will look to the near side as Grimes and Snell split this way. Howard the back, one back to McKissick's left, twins to the right. 4 receiver set for Penn Hills. McKissick over the middle into the hands of Snell, and he's unable to hold on to it. Pass was tipped, and the Indians of Penn Hills will go 3 and out. Pass looked like it was tipped on the way in. Got into Snell, but he was unable to hold on to it. And now McKissick will drop back to punt. North Hills will get their hands on the football for the first time. And Penn Hills will fake it. And they will get the first down. Jawan Brown.
Jawan Brown on the carry. That play results in a Penn Hills.
7 yards, first down. The Indians start off with the trickery.
Of Penn Hills, that is.
Did I say Indians?
Yes, you did.
Yeah, I think we need an electric shock collar here. High snap. Howard looks for somewhere to go, but North Hills is there.
Jamar Howard brought down in the backfield by number 44, Max Badamo.
It says it's on.
I'm sure this is plugged in right.
Yeah, it's lighting up.
Howard tossed this way, and North Hills there again.
Howard on the carry. Brought down by number 8, Alec Apodaca.
Everything's on.
So everything's plugged in okay over there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Ethernet cable's lighting up.
On the MeFi?
Yeah.
Okay. Tossed on the sideline. Snell, the intended receiver. Penn Hill's unable to connect, and they'll come with a 4th and 11. I would think this time they would punt.
Well, yeah, before they were only 3 yards away as compared to now you're 11 yards away. It would be a riskier and a less likely run from longer away than it would have been from where it was before, which was, again, only 3 yards, a shorter gain to have.
McKissick gets the kick away under pressure, and a penalty flag comes in with the contact. I'm going to guess that's a 5-yarder.
The return of the McKissick punt. Flag on the play.
That's a personal foul call.
Personal foul. North Hills.
That'll give Penn Hills a first down. They ran into McKissick.
Yeah, that's crucial. One of the rules that I saw in the NFL when you're talking about a punt is you never want to hit the plant leg. I'm sure one of the referees saw him hit the plant leg because if a player hits the plant leg, then that punter goes down and is vulnerable as compared to just nicking part of the midsection or touching the leg that's already in the air.
McKissick on the keeper.
McKissick keeps it himself. Picks up about 4.
Do you want me to try resetting the internet? No. Hand off, McKissick up the middle to Howard. And he'll be brought down for a short gain, setting up 3rd and short on the play. North Hills now 3rd and roughly 5 from that North Hills 36. Penn Hills in the huddle. Got a couple of second lives on this drive after faking a punt, getting a first down, and then North Hills helped them out a bit by roughing the punter, Eddie McKissick, which gave this team a new set of downs. 3 wide receivers on the left, 1 on the right. Howard's in the backfield to the left of McKissick. In the backfield, going to be a pass play. McKissick finds pressure, evades pressure, but he's brought down in the backfield. The ball came loose after McKissick got hit. As you can see, North Hills pointing to the other way, and in fact, the signal you saw there, it's a North Hills first down after the fumble by Eddie McKissick. So North Hills, after giving up a fake punt and then giving up the penalty on the roughing the punter penalty, now North Hills will start 1st and 10 and get its first offensive drive. 2 wide receivers on the left, 1 on the right. Motion there and a pitch play over to the far sideline. That was North Hills' Tom McDonough, one of the leading rushers for this North Hills team. Tom McDonough and the quarterback Dylan Pauly each have over 400 yards. And North Hills has been a running team for most of this season. So 2nd down, roughly 8 to go from that 40-yard line, and a split up back. Only 1 receiver out right. It's going to be a handoff off the middle. Down short of the 45, 3rd down for North Hills.
Curtis Foskey on the carry.
Curtis Foskey, another one of these running backs. There are 5 running backs on this team that have over 280 yards. So there's the team leader, Tommy McDonough, with 492. Tyler Tomasic has 292. As you can see, North Hills relies on the running game extensionally. Same formation. Now from the 44, it's going to be a mismatch of handoffs before somebody finally gets it. Breaking down the field is Tyler Tomasic, and he's brought down past the 35. New set of downs for North Hills.
Tyler Tomasic on the carry. Play results in a North Hills first down.
Well, if anybody's eventually hearing us, we've had some technical difficulties here on the Trib Live High School Sports Network, but this is the Trib Live High School Sports Network. Friday night football between the North Hills and Penn Hills Indians. So it's 1st and 10. Ball officially spotted at the 35. One receiver to the left and more split backs. Roughly the same formation, just different side. This time it's a handoff, again up the middle. And once again handed off to Curtis Foskey. Substantial gain on the formation. This time that wide receiver's out left. 2nd and roughly 2 from the 27, and it's another handoff up the middle. Ethan Marker on the carry there. Into Penn Hills. So far, 4 running backs have ran the ball in this game. Can't speak enough to how successful the North Hills ground game has been this season. 2 wide receivers, now 3 outright, 2 in the slot. And now 1 goes in motion. It's a pitch. Once again to Tom McDonough, who breaks free down by the far sideline. He's inside the 10, dives toward the end zone. North Hills touchdown.
Tom McDonough with the North Hills.
As the clock stops with 4:08 left in the first quarter. Don't forget, coming up at the half, it's the Trib Live High School Sports Network halftime show. This week, Don Rebel and the Trib's Chris Harlan update the latest WPIAL football playoff picture. That's coming up at the half. Oh, there's a blue light coming up now on there, not just 4G.
I mean, it has everything on here. But the light's not over here on the outside.
I'll keep trying to refresh it and see if we get anything new. Hey. Ball's kicked off back into Penn Hills territory. Ball taken back down the near side. Running it still past the 40. Down and hits the defender coming into the 50. That returner for Penn Hills was Tony Grimes. And we'll welcome you.
Hopefully we're back on. Thanks, Nick. I've been scrambling with trying to get some things hooked up here. So we'll see if we're finally...
Had some technical difficulties with our equipment here, but it seems that we're back on the air. Trib Live High School Sports Network.
There we go.
Bill Navari, Nicholas Callis. All right, Bill. Good work.
You know, we had a great open, too.
We did.
I'm telling you.
When there's time, I'll talk about the Penn Hills or the North Hills running game. And
all right, who scored the touchdown, by the way?
So the touchdown was by Tom McDonough for North Hills. He ran it about 25 yards to score the touchdown. That made it 6-0. Of course, the extra point good, so now it's 7-0. Just over 4 minutes left in this first quarter.
Howard, right side, has some blockers, tries to get to the outside and does in North Hills territory. Down to the 45-yard line, picks up 7, does Howard.
Tackled by number 25, Liam Tracy.
I mean, we were scrambling up here, weren't
We were. Well, I was more announcing just in case, and you were the one working on the equipment.
That was fine, Nick.
There's Jamar Howard again with the carry on the far side. Looks like Penn Hills will have a new set of downs.
I just see the text we got from our master technician back at Trim headquarters, Chris. Said try to restart everything.
So is that what you did? You
The last thing we did. We changed out every cable, everything else. Last thing we did was restart it. All the lights were on and good. So we restarted it, and then, okay, everything worked. Okay, 8 yards first down for Howard. Again, if you're joining us late, which obviously you did because the first part of the game wasn't on, it's 7-0 North Hills over Penn Hills. WPIAL's 5A Northern Conference Championship game. Howard with maybe 2.
Howard on the carry.
So just to recap what happened while you were gone, there was Penn Hills faked a punt to get a first down, then got another first down after a roughing the kicker penalty on a 4th down and 11 punt attempt, and then Eddie McKissick fumbled the ball after North Hills applied some good pressure on defense. North Hills got the fumble back, ran the ball all the way down the field from the 30 in Penn Hills territory, and then scored that first touchdown. Tommy McDonough scored the first touchdown for North Hills. Extra point was good. Now it's 7-0.
Howard again, right side, inside the 35, cuts it inside the 30, gets a first down for Penn Hills down to the 31-yard line.
Howard on the carry.
A late flag comes in. We marked it to 26. That's 10 yards for Howard. It's a first down. Any of these flags will come after the play.
While we wait, just Jamar Howard entering play, 103 attempts for 943 yards, and that leads all the rushers for Penn Hills.
Penn Hills will come to the near side to speak with Coach LaDawn while the officials sort things out. Dead ball personal foul against Penn Hills.
Personal foul, Penn Hills.
Well, what you didn't hear with in the open was me talking about Penn Hills and the many penalties they had in the sloppy football they played around the middle of September, winning a close game against Mars 14-7, and then winning an even closer game against Kiski area a week later on September the 20th. The score was 7-3 in that Kiski area game.
And you were here for both.
I was here for both of them. Yeah.
You are not a good portent for Penn Hills, are you?
I don't think I am because
I don't know, Nick.
Because in the last 4 games it's played, well, I was here for Armstrong, but Penn Hills beat Armstrong 52-20, beat Hampton 30-10, then beat Shaler 43-14. Then the non-conference game against Baldwin, Penn Hills won 20-7.
So that was a beautiful night up at Armstrong.
It was.
So it makes it 1st and 10. Penn Hills back at the 40-yard line. McKissick gets away. Needed to get rid of it, but he didn't. And a late penalty flag comes in after the sack.
Down in the backfield. Flag on the play.
Look at number 50 coming in there, shedding off a block and applying that initial pressure. And then most of the defensive line and linebackers came in to finish the job of McKissick, which created a huge loss on the play.
Officials are going to tag Penn Hills Ramir Moore Tucker. So not only did he lose about 8 yards, now it's going to be another 15-yard loss.
And I've been in a few games in high school where the other team was chirping some insults at us or playing a bit aggressively past the whistle. And I know we didn't appreciate that, but this is something that Penn Hills has to be careful of. Penn Hills is already in the favorable position with an undefeated conference record already this season. Penn Hills can't let another team interrupt their flow and allow them to get angry and play a game that's not their game. And usually you see it too. The referees always get the second guy, so North Hills can start doing something at first, but if Penn Hills makes a blatant foul next, then Penn Hills is going to be the team that gets hit, and it's the same thing for North Hills too. So usually always the second guy. That's what a lot of coaches preach, so don't be the second guy if you're going to do anything.
Well, the officials are going to sort this out.
But I can certainly understand, too, from the high school player standpoint, you're playing in a game that does matter. And North Hills is playing a game now where it's coming out aggressively and maybe doing some things, extracurricular things, so to speak, that might be making Penn Hills upset. But this is where either team has to keep a clear head and focus on the game of football, because personal fouls clearly have not helped Penn Hills. It's second down and roughly 50 yards. More like 30 to be exact.
They throw the screen underneath. Has a man on the far side. Gets out back to the 50-yard line. It's about 11 yards there on first down. It was Snell.
McKissick pass complete to Noel Roach.
Oh, you mean Noel Roach.
Run down by number 2, Tom McDonough.
Should be noted, too, North Hills lost this game last year 38-0, but has already scored first in this one, so it avoided the shutout at the very least.
McKissick going deep, and the pass was intended for Roach. Nice defense on the play by Liam Tracy.
Liam Tracy, one of the sophomore defensive backs for this North Hills team. And it appears that Penn Hills will be forced to punt for the second time in this game. Of course, its last punt ended in a North Hills penalty, a roughing the kicker penalty that gave Penn Hills the ball back. But then later on in that part of the drive, Penn Hills' Eddie McKissick fumbled the ball. And that's when North Hills got its first offensive drive and scored a touchdown.
Snap. Nice job by McKissick to go up and get it. Gets the kick away. We'll hit it to 25. Take a nice bounce inside the 10. Penn Hills will let it roll inside the 5. And we'll go dead at the 3. You talk about getting lemonade out of a lemons. The high snap. McKissick went up to get it. And gets a kick away. Gets a nice 22-yard roll. And North Hills set up at the 3.
And this still might not be a poor position for North Hills offense. Just talking about how many rushers this team has. 5 rushers have over 250 yards, and Tommy McDonough, one of the rushers, has 492 on the season on 54 carries.
Foskey hit as he got the football. Goes down in the end zone. That should be a safety. Oh, they're going to give him the 1-yard line. Oh, no.
Well, looks like we got a replay here. Let's just look at that again.
Oh, Carpenter smacked him. That was...
Now, here's another problem if you're a team that is run heavy, and especially inside the 5. Penn Hills' defense was going to be aggressive there and proved that with Donovan Carper just smacking the halfback trying to come through the line.
Tomasic gets out of the end zone up to the 5.
Tomasic on the carry.
And there was a good block there off the end by Curtis Foskey. He's one of the running backs, but in that position, he was playing one of the blockers out of the backfield, and he kept a couple of the outside guys, outside linebackers and defensive ends away from the ball carrier.
Well, that'll do it for the first quarter already. This score's just flown on by. After one, North Hills 7, Penn Hills nothing. You're watching the Trib Live High School Sports Network.
Hey, and don't forget, coming up at the half, it's the Trib Live High School Sports Network halftime show. This week, Don Rebel and the Trib's Chris Harlan update the latest WPIAL football playoff picture. That's coming up at halftime here on the Trib Live High School Sports Network. So because this wasn't hurt in the half, I would like to make a note of this as well, just talking about the North Hills running game. Talked about how 5 rushers for this North Hills team have over 280 yards this season. The leader is Tommy McDonough with 492. Dylan Pauling, the quarterback, has 429. Then Chase Foskey has 335. Curtis Foskey has 286. And then Tyler Tomascus, 292. 5 rushers, most of which play in the backfield. We've seen several split back and unorthodox back formations this North Hills team has had, and it's a game of guess who has the football most of the time, and it's worked all year. It's gotten this team 5 conference wins, and it's worked tonight so far. Tommy McDonough getting the only touchdown for North Hills to this point, but North Hills with its second offensive drive being run right now.
Maybe another couple of yards for Foskey. And North Hills is going to have to punt from their own end zone.
And that was a pretty solid job there by the Penn Hills defense, just understanding that the running game was going to be used with North Hills pinned back inside the 5. Good aggression, good stop of the run there, and that forces this punt.
High, short, hits at the 33, takes a North Hills bounce across the 35, and they will down it at the 37-yard line. So Penn Hills will have great field position at the North Hills 37. 11:20 to go here in the first half, trailing North Hills by 7.
Down to the North Hills 36-yard line.
Eddie McKissick, the Penn Hills quarterback entering today's game, has 69 completions out of 124 attempts. That's good for a 56% completion percentage, and has thrown for over 1,000 yards entering play with 12 touchdowns and only 2 interceptions thrown in the 9 games played to this point. That includes week 0.
Pistol formation for Penn Hills. It'll be Howard looking for some blockers this way. He's a lot of white jerseys, but still managed to get inside the 35 to the 34, respectable 3 yards. And Penn Hills with a second down.
By number 15, Tim Sudo.
Well, the Penn Hills defense responded much better on that drive. Of course, North Hills really had the limit on the playbook since they were starting at the 3-yard line and then at the near goal line. But now an opportunity. The defense set the Penn Hills offense up in great field position here. Arlen Thompson will move to McKissick's right, Howard to his left. McKissick. The ball was on the field and Howard just looked at it.
Number 40, Cole Monish recovers the Penn Hills fumble.
So North Hills will get the ball right back at the 37-yard line. 10:29 to go here in the half.
Yeah, that's just a play where, regardless of what happens, you got to fall on the football no matter what. I mean, that was an option play that McKissick saw pressure, tried to pitch it back. Howard wasn't ready. He didn't try to fight for the football, and that's when North Hills gets it back and now is getting ready for its 3rd offensive drive.
Swing pass this way. And Penn Hills is there.
Pass complete.
Will actually lose yardage. McDonough with the reception will lose 2.
Now.
Toss right side. Tomasic.
Tomasic on the carry.
With no gain.
Brought down by
Jamie Tigner on the tackle for Penn Hills.
Just want to make mention as well that one of the secondary players for North Hills has been in there in the backfield creating pressure on the Penn Hills offensive drives and is the one that recovered that fumble. It's Cole Bodish for North Hills. Now North Hills with 3rd and 12.
Bouncing to the outside is Foskey.
Number 24, Curtis Foskey on the carry.
Foskey will get the first down. Needed 12, got 13.
Play results in the North Hills first down.
And North Hills, when it's not pinned back, has the opportunity to run options. Typically, you don't have the time to run options when you're pinned back inside the 5, but North Hills has space now and has a little bit more yardage and a little bit more room in the backfield to play around with some trickery, and it has moved the ball well in this 3rd offensive drive.
Pitch back this side. And that's going to be a big loss for about 3 yards or so. It's McDonough.
McDonough on the carry. Brought down at the back.
And Penn Hills is just hitting hard. Derek Topek, Derek Topek. 5'9", 175-pound junior, but came in there like a freight train and just hit down that attempted run. I mean, Penn Hills has shown a hard-hitting defense, whereas North Hills has showed a more efficient and conservative defense that's worked out more favorably than Penn Hills' defense has.
And North Hills will use a timeout. 8:06 to go, first half. North Hills 7, Penn Hills nothing. You're watching WPIAL on the Trib Live High School Sports Network. I want to say a special hello to a bunch of guys watching the game tonight in Richmond, Virginia. You know who you are. Told to give you guys a special shout out tonight, and hope things are going well down in Richmond. I hope you're enjoying tonight's game, although your Penn Hills Indians are down 7 here in the second quarter.
Hey, and don't forget to tune in for This Week in the WPIAL on a new night this fall. Log on Tuesday night at 7 p.m. as we visit with some of the top WPIAL coaches. Plus, we preview some of the top games from Week 1 of the 2019 WPIAL football playoffs.
Ethan Marker, your quarterback. And off inside to Foskey. Spins ahead. About 3.
Number 24, Curtis Foskey on the carry.
And North Hill's looking at, we'll call it 3rd and 10. It's a long 9.
Brought down by Jarrell Porter. 3rd down.
So Penn Hills with a forced fumble that it lost and turned the ball over and then was forced to punt on its second drive. Now North Hills scored a touchdown and then punted on its last drive, so this is drive number 3 for North Hills.
Swing right side. Penn Hills was there, but now there's a whole side this way of open field. And diving close to the first down is Tyler Tomasic, but it'll be short by about a yard. Penn Hills had him contained on that far side, but Tomasic found a little opening to cut it back, and when he did, when he got through his blockers and that Red Sea, there was a lot of room to run this way.
Yeah, that's just a great way to make something out of nothing. There was a pass there from Ethan Marker. It was just a dump-off pass, just a way for him not to get sacked, and then Tyler Tomascus, who entered today with 292 rushing yards, finds a way to fight for space and give North Hills a better opportunity to get a first down on this play.
North Hills tried to draw the Indians off, almost did. And Tomasic, looks like he has the first down.
Tomasic on the carry.
Don't forget it's 7-0. North Hills leads Penn Hills with 6.5 minutes left in this second quarter.
Officials will bring the sticks out.
And as obvious as this might sound, this is a pivotal call in this game.
I think North Hills has it. It looks good enough. From where the marker was on the far side.
And it's if any part of the football is past that orange stick by the 40-yard line. If any part of the ball is past it, North Hills gets a first down.
And they do.
Results in the North Hills first down.
So now North Hills with a fresh set of downs at the Penn Hills 42-yard line, up 7. And North Hills uses their second of 3 times out here on this one. Looks like maybe some confusion with the personnel on the field. But they'll take their second timeout. 6:11 to go here in the first half.
Hey, and don't miss Bracketology 2019 Monday night as we unveil the 2019 WPIAL football playoff brackets. Find out the postseason matchups first by clicking on the HSSN playoff pairings show Monday at 7 p.m. on the Trib Live High School Sports Network. Also, don't forget, coming up at the half, it's the Trib Live High School Sports Network halftime show this week. Don Rebel and the Trib's Chris Harlan update the latest WPIAL football playoff picture. And, of course, it's Week 9, so playoffs start next week, and these two teams will certainly be there. It just is a matter of seeding at this point. Penn Hills with a 6-0 conference record, North Hills with a 5-1 conference record in the Northern Conference.
Donna comes in motion this way, but it's going to be Tomasic. Right side looks for somewhere to go, and Penn Hills is there to stop him for a gain of 2.
Tomasic on the carry.
Now with the clock winding down here in the first half, we're under 6 minutes and running. North Hills has a 7-0 lead. Any points here would be huge for them. They get the ball to start half number 2. Points on this drive and then points on an opening drive in the second half. Really put Penn Hills behind the 8 ball. Marker from the shotgun. Has McDonough to his right. McDonough will come this way. They'll toss it to him. Looks for some men up, blockers up front. Has them, but he runs into his own man. And then McDonough will be held for no gain. Big Matt Hummel, 6'5", 235, was out there blocking. And McDonough went right into his backside, and Hummel knocked him over.
Brought down by Featherstone. They're down.
Senior Sakai Featherstone with a tackle there, one of the defensive linemen on this team. 6'1", 210 pounds is Sakai Featherstone of Penn Hills.
McDonough again this way, but Marker will roll to his right. Looks, steps up, has some room in front of him, launches one downfield, has a man behind the defense, it's Tomasic, and the Indians batted away. Snell and Bennett on the coverage for Penn Hills. Marker got a little bit too much air under that, I think.
Yeah, that just proves you're right there that North Hills' passing game is not the best, most pristine. It relies on the running game. So far, the running game's worked to this point because of the 7 points it put on the board, but Penn Hills has adjusted nicely in the second quarter. Now it's ultimately about Penn Hills being able to take advantage on offense.
North Hills gets the punt away. Hits it to 15. Picked up by Grimes at the 6-yard line, and he'll get out to the 15.
Tony Grimes on the return.
So Penn Hills stays off the late North Hills rush on that last drive. We'll get the ball to start at their own 15-yard line, and the Penn Hills offense has had 2 fumbles and a punt.
And on that last punt, Dante Pollard was in there applying pressure, and almost blocked it. He kind of clapped in a bit of anger and frustration as he almost got the punt Pollard did for Penn Hills, but for Tony Grimes, took a risk, picked up the ball, and gave Penn Hills better field position to start its next drive.
McKissick from the shotgun, steps up, he'll be hit, does not get sacked, he manages to pick up 2 yards.
And that's again just North Hills. Nova Zedliak on the tackle. That's Ron Nova Zedliak for North Hills, but just, again, great pressure by North Hills, forcing Eddie McKissick to move away from the pocket.
Now McKissick will have backs each way. Now they're going to the pistol. Dylan Bennett is deep. That's Arlen Thompson to his right. And it's going to be Dylan Bennett. Looks for somewhere to go. Gets 3. Now Penn Hills with a 3rd and 5.
Max Badamo in there for the tackle. Also around in there was Cole Bodish and Ron Nova Zedliak for North Hills' defense.
Noel Roach split out to the left. Grimes on the near side with Jaden Duggar. Pistol formation. McKissick's going to launch one downfield, has a man wide open. It's Duggar at the 40-yard line. Duggar with a move across the 50 in North Hills territory. Breaks a tackle up the 30 to 25. Caught from behind at the 22-yard line. 58 yards. Duggar was wide open. Biggest play of the game for Penn Hills. And it's a first down for the Big Red at the North Hills 22-yard line. Snell with the run up the middle into the secondary to the 12-yard line.
This is where Penn Hills is creating some fluid plays, and the plays that are working, and now is in a prime position to score inside the 20.
Snell again inside the 10. Gets stacked up at the 7.
Snell on the carry.
Penn Hills can get a first down at the 1-yard line.
Well, we're now under 2 minutes left in this second quarter. And North Hills still leads this one 7-0 over Penn Hills.
And North Hills uses their final timeout with 1:46 to go here in the first half. Penn Hills' drive began back at their own 15-yard line. 5 plays. It was 4 runs and a pass. The pass was a big play, 58 yards.
And there is no readmission after halftime.
And there's the North Hills band over there. See that North Hills band? We will see them at halftime.
Yes, we will. Speaking of that 58-yard pass, though, there was only one person that could have caught up to Jaden Duggar who caught that pass, and it was the one who did. It was Tom McDonough for North Hills. He is the leading rusher on this team entering play for North Hills. We talked about how he had 492 rushing yards, and he's been rushing the ball all game today, but he's also a defensive back for this North Hills team, and he caught up to Duggar after Duggar broke that tackle for an extra 20 yards, and if it weren't for McDonough, Penn Hills would have scored its first touchdown of the game.
Aside from McDonough's 25-yard touchdown run, we really haven't seen that much of him offensively. He's had a few carries. He hasn't broken any. McKissick in an empty set has Grimes in a slot to the right. McKissick, quarterback draw inside the 5. Touchdown, Penn Hills Indians. for those of you keeping score at home, that's also a first down.
Yeah.
Penn Hills now draws within 1 with 1:40 to go here in the half. Jonas Silverman to try the point after. Kick is up. Like butter.
The kick by Jonas Silverman is
Kick is good. We are tied. Penn Hills, North Hills at 7, 1:40 to go here, first half. The WPIAL Northern Conference 5A Northern Conference Championship game between Penn Hills and North Hills. 85-yard drive, Nick, in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 plays. 5 runs, 1 pass.
Yeah, I mean, Penn Hills responded nicely on both sides of the ball. I mean, North Hills had a good running game coming out, stayed aggressive, and was even creating some off-field disturbances for Penn Hills and caused Penn Hills to get some personal fouls that hurt it. But North Hills since then hasn't had a good running game because the Penn Hills defense responded nicely, stopped a couple runs, forced North Hills to punt a few times, and that last drive by Penn Hills was just a demonstration of a versatile offense that has been working all season. And now we have a tie game.
Who'd you have tonight, Central Valley or Aliquippa?
Oh, I'd give Aliquippa by a little bit. That's a
Central Valley 28, Aliquippa nothing right now.
really.
Oh,
That's shocking.
that is shocking.
That is shocking.
That is stunning.
I would have said Aliquippa, but wow.
Here at 7-7. A lot of conference championship games tonight. Kick bounces at the 15. And we'll roll into the end zone. Fortunately for North Hills and Chase Foskey, that becomes an automatic touchback. That thing starts rolling laterally. Penn Hills might have been in business.
So, just going over some of the brackets going into the playoffs coming up, I heard that there were 8 different playoff scenarios that could take place in the Northern Conference.
Yes.
Yes.
At least. It's probably not even like, it's probably pointless even to try to go over them all until we start getting some scores in.
Well, I'll be looking for those.
This and then that, and I mean, it's almost algebraic.
It really is.
Now, North Hills has no timeouts. They're at their own 20-yard line. Penn Hills has 2. North Hills gets the ball to start half number 2. I would think North Hills might have discretion being the better part of Valor here. It'll be McDonough, right side. Looked for a moment like he was going to break something, but he picks up 3 yards. Ball comes out. The officials say he was down.
brought down by Cam Hopkins.
Penn Hills will use a timeout. Effort to try to get the ball back.
And don't forget, next Friday, exclusive coverage of the 2019 WPIAL football playoffs kicks off with all 30 WPIAL first round and quarterfinals playoff games. You can hear and watch all the games only here at tribhssn.triblive.com. Don't forget that, tribhssn.triblive.com.
By the way, we'd also be remiss if we did not say happy birthday to our broadcast coordinator over to our left, the beautiful Helen.
Yeah.
I'm say happy birthday, Helen. Well, you can spin that camera around on her. And look at her. No camera, no nothing. Nobody can see her, and she is blushing up a gusho. Look at that. Also, a scoreboard operator down to our right, Scott Caracato, also his birthday tonight, too. A couple birthdays. Clock will be 1:34. Foskey for a yard. Penn Hills will use its final timeout.
Run down by Terrell.
Right, we'll give them 2. Call it 3rd and 5.
Okay, so in Class 5A, here are all the games being played tonight. You have Armstrong versus Kiski. Armstrong's the last place team. Kiski with a 3-3 record, 4-5 overall. 3-3 conference record, I should say, in 5th place. So the 5th place team playing the 8th place team. Then,
I think isn't Kiski stacked up at the 3rd right now, because they beat Mars and who else is in there? They beat Mars. They beat Fox Chapel, I think. You know what? They're all tied. I mean, maybe stack them alphabetically. I don't know.
Oh no, they are all tied. All the teams tied right now. You have Mars tied with a 3-3 conference record. Fox Chapel tied 3-3, and then Kiski area tied 3-3. They're all tied for 3rd right now.
Mars can finish 6th in the conference, but they're still guaranteed a playoff spot. If things fall out that Mars finishes 6th, they'll be the wild card team.
Ouch.
And Marker tried to just keep it to run out the clock. He gets punished for the effort.
Donovan Carpenter's in there again. He's had a couple hard hits tonight. And that's just one of many Penn Hills plays that we've seen on defense, where the defense has just been aggressive and has been laying the hit stick on the North Hills offensive rushers.
Clock stopped with a minute to go. Oh, I see there's an equipment issue.
Another game happening around the Northern Conference, though. Mars and Hampton are playing. We don't have a score on that game yet, but that one started at 7 o'clock. Mars is tied for 3rd, and Hampton is in 7th place with a 2-4 conference record. So Hampton still has a chance to make playoffs. As we're continuing to have a clock issue, another game. Shaler playing Fox Chapel. Shaler in 6th place with a 2-4 conference record, and Fox Chapel with a 3-4 conference record. So if Hampton and Shaler win and Fox Chapel and Mars lose, there's going to be a straight-up tie with a 3-4 conference record.
This afternoon I was chatting with Dink Loughran. That's Tommy Loughran's wife.
Okay.
And she was, telling bring home, she's a Penn Hills girl. Tom used to coach here at Penn Hills, too, and teach as well.
Okay.
She was like, who you bought tonight? Who you playing tonight? North? Well, you guys got to win. You got to win. Meanwhile, she's going off to Fox Chapel to root for the Foxes. But so likewise, I said, bring home a win there, Foxes. But Tommy Loughran is one of the nicest guys in coaching out there. Not to root against anybody, but,
yeah,
somebody you're friends with and
Yeah, but if Penn Hills loses
it's North Hills is just shuffling people in and out, and the officials are.
I just realized now, too, that if North Hills wins this game, then that'll be roughly a tie for the first place spot in the Northern Conference, because both teams will be 6-1 in conference, and then you have a whole scenario.
Win the conference.
There's a scenario where there could be a 5-way tie for 3rd place.
North Hills hits it off the back of their own guy. And Penn Hills will have it at the 18-yard line.
Well, alertly, Tyler Tomasic was up there after it hit off the back of the North Hills line. Tomasic was there to at least spear it out of the air. Got to just catch it and make sure that Penn Hills did get it back. But at the same token, Penn Hills now has the ball. Still about a half a minute left.
Right off the back of Foskey.
Right. Yeah. But now it's 1st and 10 from the 20. In field goal range with the game tied at 7. That was a crucial play.
No timeouts for Penn Hills. McKissick under pressure. Can't get sacked. Got to get rid of it. And he goes down at the 29-yard line.
And again, in on that play, somebody we've been talking about who's gotten several tackles in this game, Ron Novoseliak.
McKissick will spike it and bring up third down. Oh, that is not what Penn Hills wanted on that play.
Let me repronounce that name too. Ron Novosedliak, excuse me. But yeah, he's been in the backfield constantly. He's been making tackles all game.
How do you even notice he's out there? He's only 6'7".
Right, the sarcasm. 6'7", 240 pounds on the defensive line. Also a senior for this North Hills team. And has made an impact on the defensive side of the ball tonight, that's for sure.
6'7", he's wearing 77. I would have asked for 67.
The irony in that one. Huh. Well, now a less than favorable situation for Penn Hills, pushed back to the 30. And with this false start penalty, that's going to move them back 5 more yards to the 35.
McKissick launches one down the sideline, has a man, Snell too far. It'll bring up fourth down. Well, it doesn't really matter. 6 seconds left. So now the sack and the penalty moved Penn Hills out of field goal range.
Yeah, that sack by North Hills was crucial. So that sack was huge because that pushed Penn Hills back from the 20-yard line to the 30-yard line. Then Penn Hills had to spike it, which means that it lost a down. So well, the officials are ruling that it's third down, so essentially Penn Hills might have an extra play.
It should be fourth down.
Well, there's some disagreements, but here's the play.
McKissick rolling to his right. Throws underneath. The pass is incomplete. That'll do it. That'll do it. Halftime, your score. Penn Hills 7, North Hills 7. The bands are up next. Second half action coming your way. Meanwhile there, Nick, remember the Armstrong flag? Look at that one.
Yeah, that's rather large.
There you go. So the North Hills band up next. We'll be back for second half action here on the Trib Live High School Sports Network. There's a break, Chuck. Do me a favor. Take a picture. Headset on. Second half action about to get underway at Penn Hills, U-Haas McGinley Stadium with the score Indians 7, Nicholas Callis.
Yeah, we got a tight game. It's been tight. I heard that the Penn Hills coaches elected to put all the seniors out for the first drive of the game, and that first drive almost went somewhere. There was a fake punt that was successful in that first drive. There was a punt attempt that went in favor of Penn Hills because there was a roughing the kicker penalty that gave Penn Hills another opportunity to get a new set of downs and score. However, North Hills came out after that. The defense played well, caused Eddie McKissick to run out of the pocket, and then he fumbled trying to scramble away from defenders. North Hills got the ball back, ended up scoring a touchdown on its first offensive drive. It was Tom McDonough who ran it 25 yards to score the touchdown. But there have been a plethora of running backs for this North Hills team that have gotten the ball and that have moved the ball. Now, toward the second quarter, Penn Hills' defense got a bit wiser, understood, okay, we haven't seen too many passes. There's been at most 5 passes thrown by North Hills in this game, and none of them were, or 2 of them were completed for short gains, but the 3 long passes that were attempted went incomplete. So Penn Hills got wiser, ended up just focusing its defense on run prevention, succeeded at that, and then ended up scoring a touchdown after a 58-yard pass was completed to Jaden Duggar, and then with a few more plays being run, Eddie McKissick had a quarterback keeper from about 5 yards away to score the touchdown for Penn Hills, and that was with less than 5 minutes left in that second quarter. So that's how we're tied at 7. Good defense by both teams. Solid offense. At least the ball is being moved on both sides. Scoring has come at a premium, though. And since North Hills kicked off in the first half, you see Penn Hills in those red jerseys getting ready to kick off here in the second half.
And we are underway. Kickoff to the 5. That's McDonough. Nice return across the 25. North Hills will start at the 27. Penn Hills, they mistakes early. Came on late. They had an opportunity on the final drive of the half when they got set up inside the 30-yard line. But the sack by McKissick pushed them out of field goal range, and they were unable to come up with anything.
Yeah, and that was a big play for North Hills, applying that pressure. North Hills, again, has been applying pressure all game, and that was huge. It was a 10-yard loss on the sack, and it prevented Penn Hills from scoring.
Curtis Foskey on the carry.
Foskey for 3.
Brought down by Sakai. Featherstone.
Yeah, another great performances by the bands at halftime. The North Hills band, all 603 of them were out there.
Oh, the North Hills band is one of the best bands you'll find around the United States of America.
I actually looked forward to this game because the North Hills band was going to be here.
Yeah, we'll talk about them a little bit after this play, but it's an incredible band, marching band and symphonic band. Great music program.
Foskey goes out in a motion to the right, and they're going to toss right side. Not much there, and then body slammed is Tyler Tomasic at the 31.
Brought down by Jawan.
But this music program for the for North Hills High School, this band has played. It played for George W. Bush's inauguration in 2000. The 43rd President of the United States, George W. Bush.
Can't beat that.
No, you can't.
McDonough comes in motion this way. Go fake to him. Stepped up, throwback screen right side to Foskey. Penn Hills is there. He'll be stacked up, spins ahead. Picks up maybe a yard, and it'll bring up a 4th down for the North Hills Indians.
Just one more.
Like I said, one thing that I've noticed over the years in high school sports, and it's becoming more and more of a trend, and it just drives me up the wall, is just the lack of basic tackling, getting the arms around people. Nowadays, they come in, they want to throw the shoulder in. Just throw the shoulder in and see if you can knock people over instead of just they'll wrap up and bring them down. Grimes will let the punt roll by and will go inside the 30-yard line, and Tomasic will down it at the 26-yard line. Sorry to go off on a tangent there, Nick.
No, you know, I can speak to that as well. I remember when I played football, Madden had a severe influence on how I played my defense, and I loved playing linebacker more than I did playing fullback in the offensive line every once in a while. But I always envied Madden because of the hit stick, and I always wanted to create a hit stick play. But at the same time, I remembered after a while that when you miss a hit stick, you just have, like, in Madden, the guy doesn't get tackled, he just makes a spin move around you in the game, and then there's a gain to the anyway, so it's the same virtually and in real life.
Grimes in motion this way. And it'll be Howard. He'll be dropped for a loss of 2. North Hill is doing a nice job here so far in this game of containing Jamar Howard.
Yeah, and I talked about Howard already. Entering today's game, he's run for 943 yards on 103 carries entering today's game, and he's already gotten plenty more yards after several carries he's been given. He's the primary running back for this team, and he's been successful all year. Tonight's no exception. But North Hill's doing a great job of containing that, as you said.
Grimes in motion this way. He'll swing pass. It'll be Grimes. Looks for some blockers in front. Has a little bit of a lane. And we'll spin up to the 30-yard line for 5.
And again, North Hill's doing a great job on defense. As you are out there seeing, I'm seeing it as well, just a swarm of white jerseys tackling whoever the ball carrier is, and that's a good job for a defense when not one guy's relied on to tackle the player with the ball, where 4 guys come around and prevent anything from happening, and that's just what North Hills has done all game. There's been at least 3 defensive players around the ball carrier for Penn Hills the entire game. North Hills, exceptional job on defense.
Screen underneath, unable to hold on to it was Snell.
Incomplete. Intended for Snell.
It's just as well. He was at the line of scrimmage and he was on his knees when he was trying to catch it.
Quick update.
Again, the rush was in there on McKissick. He really didn't have time to do anything.
Yeah, the defense for North Hills. Can't say much more about it other than that it's been an exceptional defensive showing by North Hills in today's game. Penn Hills has not moved the ball very much at all.
McKissick bobbles the snap. North Hills is able to actually get a piece of it. And Penn Hills watches it take a North Hills roll, and North Hills picks it up. Johnny on the spot, wisely so. This guy not in our roster.
That's Cole Bodish for North Hills. And he has been on the defense the entire game. He's been in the backfield. He's been playing well, one of the more highlighted players, and that was just an excellent job. I mean, it took an unorthodox bounce.
What
it didn't take
it was taking a North Hills roll backwards, and Penn Hills just watched it instead of downing it, instead of giving the extra yards, and then Bodish comes in, picks it up, and takes off running.
Well, it's just been sloppy for Penn Hills against teams that are higher up in this Northern Conference, and this game's been no exception. Just the fundamental things not being done well for Penn Hills in today's game.
Fake to McDonough. Rolled his right throw underneath, and the pass is dropped. That was Tomasic.
And Tony Grimes was the one in there for Penn Hills giving a hit on Tomasic and just creating an exclamation to that incomplete pass. But, I mean, we talked about Penn Hills before. Penn Hills almost lost to Mars back on September the 13th and almost lost to Kiscaria on September the 20th. Both those teams are quality teams in this Northern Conference in Class 5A. And North Hills is no exception, being the second-place team in the Northern Conference. So Penn Hills has been sloppy against good teams, and it's showing a little bit in this game. This game's no exception to that.
Tomasic goes off to the right. Flag on the play. False start. One thing we haven't seen much of in this game are penalties against North Hills.
No, and North Hills is playing a clean game. North Hills is doing what it needs to do to put up a fight against this team in Penn Hills. And as I talked about already, Penn Hills hasn't lost a conference game in 13 straight conference games. And as for North Hills has not had less than a 2-loss conference season since the year 2010. So both teams are trying to keep streaks or break streaks in this one, in North Hills' case.
North Hills will throw. Looked like they tried to set up the screen. There was nothing there. And it'll be sacked back at the 23-yard line. Marker didn't have anywhere to go.
Jamie Tigner was the one credited with that tackle for Penn Hills. And both these teams are playing hard. I mean, this game does have some implications. I mean, it's the top two teams in the conference. Penn Hills in first place with a 6-0 conference record, and North Hills with a 5-1 conference record. So if North Hills will win, if North Hills does win, North Hills will improve to 6-1, and them, North Hills and Penn Hills will be tied. But Penn Hills, if it wins, will repeat as conference champions in the Northern Conference.
The winner of this game takes the top seed in the conference. Both teams will have home playoff games next week, no matter what happens here tonight. Now here's the streaks going on here for Penn Hills. Penn Hills ran out 24-0 all time in 5A, going back to 2017. They beat Plum in 2017, won 15 games last year, and won 8 games this year in 5A, or 7 games, whatever it was.
No, it's 8.
8 games. So they're 24-0 in 5A. In the John LaDawn era, Penn Hills has not lost a home game. So they haven't lost a home game in 3 years. Gilbert hit as he throws. That's going to be an incomplete pass. And the officials were quickly on it to call it as such. You can see the arm going forward. So to bring up 4th down and a long way to go. If you're North Hills, you might as well go for it. I mean, even if you try to kick a field goal here, and you miss, Penn Hills gets it at the 20. But you're at the 28-yard line. You need to get to the 5 for a first down.
Again, another pivotal play. We've seen so many of those in this game, and that's mainly because the score's tied at 7.
McDonough in motion this way. Marker will roll to his right, looks back this way for McDonough. There he is, wide open, and he drops the football. Case is trying to run before you had possession. North Hills will turn the ball over on downs, and Penn Hills is thanking their lucky stars on that one, Nicholas. They gave North Hills the ball on a first down at the 15-yard line, and North Hills unable to do anything with it.
And that's just a fundamental play by North Hills that just wasn't executed, a pass that ultimately shouldn't have been dropped. And now Penn Hills has to figure out a way to get around this North Hills defense, because this North Hills defense has been tough playing press coverage right now.
McKissick, option left, keeps it himself, gets across to 30. Out to the 33-yard line for 5.
And one of the wide receivers went in motion there for Penn Hills, and usually when a team runs motion, it's trying to figure out whether a team is running a man coverage on defense or running a zone coverage on defense. And I'm sure Penn Hills wants to figure that out, but since only one guy was following that one receiver going around, North Hills was in man defense.
Pollard and Snell split to the near side. Roach and Grimes up top. Howard joining McKissick in the backfield. Grimes in motion this way. And they'll pitch to Grimes. Deep in the backfield, gets across to 35. We'll have a first down at the 39-yard line.
Tony Grimes on the carry.
And that's the first down of this half.
Knocked out by number 2, Tom McDonough. That play results
For either team.
First down.
Penn Hills 3 and out. Or North Hills 3 and out. Penn Hills 3 and out. North Hills turned over on downs. 4 and out. Well, Penn Hills gets a first down. Swing pass left for Grimes. It's out of bounds for a yard.
And the referees got over there quickly because Tim Sudo absolutely dragged him to the ground, almost body slammed him to the ground, and this is part of the mental game now that both these teams are playing. I'm sure North Hills wants to get in the head of Penn Hills and defeat the Goliath that Penn Hills is.
Broken play. McKissick looks for somewhere to go, comes to the near side with a couple of blockers. Gets across the 45 to 50. Remember, this is a broken play, and McKissick will have a first down out of bounds in North Hills territory at the 40-yard line. 21 yards.
And even though that play was broken, Eddie McKissick was aware enough to find space. He even switched hands as he was running toward that near sideline. You always want to keep the ball next to the sideline in case you fumble. It's more likely to go out of bounds, and then you don't lose possession.
Arlen Thompson will fall on this one back at the Penn Hills 47-yard line. 13 yards on the loss.
I mean, this is something that Penn Hills has been doing all game, or all season, that's been a problem. I remember against Mars, there were several penalties against Kiski area. There were 2 fumbles by Jamar Howard to start the game, and now we've seen here a couple miscues on punts, a couple lucky breaks for Penn Hills after broken plays, but that one there was no hiding that play was broken because of the high snap and a huge, huge loss of yards. Second and roughly 18.
Pitch left side, and Howard will lose 2. Penn Hills will have a 3rd and 25, and a late penalty flag comes in.
Yeah, there's some extracurricular activity down there now. Cole Bodish was in on that tackle, and then somebody got slammed after the play. And the referees were right there to figure that one out. Look at that personal foul on sportsmanlike conduct for both teams, which means the penalty's offset. Yeah, take a look at that again.
Bodish was on top and driving after the play, would not get off. And Claude Vangelis came in and said, "Get off my guy."
So both got unsportsmanlike penalties, and that means they offset. So no loss for anybody, but I mean, this is the point in the game now where you're playing hard. These are 2 top teams in the conference. Both don't like to lose and are not used to losing at that. So
why are we marking yards off here then? Oh, they're marking them off, going this way, going that way, instead of just saying offsetting.
You know, it's a more official way to do it.
Yeah.
But by the way, it's 3rd down and a mile to go.
Penn Hills needs to cross the 30. Underneath to Grimes, runs back into the coverage.
McKissick pass complete to Grimes.
To the 47-yard line for 5.
Tackle by number 40, Cole Bodish.
But part of what I'm talking about here is that this could become a mental game quickly when it comes to this fighting and off play activity that's going on. Both teams not used to losing, so one of these teams has to stay stronger and not feed into that, because if one team gets in the head of the other team, the team that's being bothered by all of that off-field stuff is going to be the team that is going to be at a disadvantage.
McKissick gets the kick away. High. Fair catch. Called for and made at the 21-yard line.
That was Luke Holbert, one of the seniors, who was the one that fielded that punt.
So North Hills will get the ball again. Now with 3:53 to go here in the 3rd quarter. We are still tied at 7. Penn Hills, North Hills. WPIAL Northern Conference Championship game in 5A.
So I have an update around 5A in the Northern Conference. Kiski area is leading Armstrong 14-0. Mars up 7-0 on Hampton.
Marker for a yard.
And then Fox Chapel on top of Shaler, 6-0.
Fox Chapel, the surprise of the conference this year.
Yeah, Fox Chapel started out winless this season for its first 3 or 4 games and is now tied for 3rd place with 3 conference wins and 3 conference losses.
Tomasic goes in motion to the right, and they're going to bring it on his side to McDonough. McDonough across the 30, 35, out of bounds.
Number 2, Tom McDonough.
At about the 43-yard line. The 42, picked up about, excuse me, the 37, 15.
My results in the North Hills first down.
So I just love repeating this scenario. I'm going to do it again. So if Mars, Fox Chapel, and Kiskeria lose, if Shaler and Hampton win, and if North Hills wins this game, there's going to be a 2-way tie for first place and a 4-way tie for second place. Or a 5-way tie for second place.
Marker rolls to his right, hits as he throws, and the pass was intended for McDonough. Grimes on the coverage, incomplete.
Marker pass incomplete. Intended for McDonough.
Now, if Penn Hills wins, it's a repeat for the conference championship. It'll be in first place without a doubt. North Hills will be locked into second place if Penn Hills can come out with a win. And then there's just all that tricky in-between stuff between the 5 teams who are in games right now: Mars, Fox Chapel, Kiskeria, Shaler, and Hampton. All could swing either way with either wins or losses. It's
Tomasic underneath for about 5.
Tomasic on the carry, brought down by Eric Topek.
It's a very unstable Northern Conference right now.
Yeah,
It's
it's crazy.
I mean, I'm just smiling at how exciting this is, though. I mean, just to see all these scenarios, and we've got a tight game right now between the top 2 teams.
The only thing we know is whoever wins this game wins the conference.
I mean, these 2 teams are both going to make playoffs, but it's just so exciting to watch the top two teams play a quality football game here. North Hills got shut out last year by Penn Hills, putting up a better fight this year.
Marker rolls to his right, and a pass too high for Hulbert.
Incomplete.
That brings up a 4th down, and North Hills will bring on the punting unit and will appear to punt. Or will they?
Another updated score on the Fox Chapel game. Fox Chapel leads Shaler 13-7 after 3 quarters.
McDonough gets the kick away. High, short. Indians should let it bounce and roll. And it hit, looks like it hit Grimes. They're going to pick it up and run. They're going to say no, it went dead at the 32-yard line. Woo, I think the Indians might have dodged one there, Nick.
Down at the Penn Hills 32-yard line where they take over.
Well, yeah, I mean, it just might have been another mistake that could have not gone Penn Hills' way, but fortunately does. And both teams haven't scored now in over a full quarter. It's been over 12 minutes since Penn Hills, since Penn Hills scored the touchdown back in the second quarter.
Of course, did you see who came out with the ball? Rob Novosedliak. I don't know anybody who's going to bring him down. Indians with Howard right up the middle for 3. The Indians just have not been able to get anything down the field.
No, and it should be a credit, too, to the defensive line for North Hills, just kind of converging toward the center. Typically, if there are multiple players covering up the center holes, Howard can't run through there, and then the backers come in and finish off the play. And usually it results in a short gain or no gain at all.
Howard again. Tries to slither his way through. He does, out to the 40.
Howard on the carry.
For 5. That'll bring up a 3rd and 2. Clock will roll under a minute here in quarter number 3.
Well, I saw a blocker there for Penn Hills. Off the line, it was Ramir Moore Tucker. provided a nice block, and him with the rest of the linemen on offense did a nice job on that run, creating space so Howard could run through, and it was a sizable gain on that play. It's a good play for Penn Hills' offense.
Swing this side. Snell goes up with it, comes down with it across the 50, and it's a foot race. Snell across the 30, brought down from behind at the 25-yard line. They're going to mark him at the 23.
And just
37 yards.
Just barely chasing him down was Liam Tracy, a 5'9", 160-pound sophomore. But Akeem Snell and the rest of this wide receiver core for Penn Hills is quick, creates space. And for Akeem Snell on that specific play, it was a short little bubble pass.
If you're Penn Hills, do you run a play here or do you let the quarter wind out?
Oh, I'm not big on strategy like that. I don't know.
Here.
That's a decision for the
so
personnel on the field.
And talk things over. I mean, there's 10 seconds into under 10. No, they will run out of play. McKissick keeps it himself. Inside the 15. Shoestring tackle brought down at the 13-yard line. Looks like he picked up about 10, maybe 11 yards. We'll give him the first down. And that'll do it for quarter number 3. After 3, your score, Penn Hills 7, North Hills 7. You're watching the WPIAL 5A Northern Conference Championship game here on the Trib Live High School Sports Network.
Hey, and don't forget, coming up after this game, it's the WPIAL Football Scoreboard Show with Don Rebel from the Excella Health Studios at the HSSN World Headquarters with all the scores and recaps from Week 9 of the 2019 WPIAL football season, plus the final playoff picture. Don't miss the WPIAL Football Scoreboard Show after the game, only here on the Trib Live High School Sports Network. And also don't forget, next Friday, exclusive coverage of the 2019 WPIAL football playoffs. Kick off with all 30 WPIAL first round and quarterfinals playoff games. You can hear and watch all the games only here at hssn.triblive.com. There's Penn Hills inside the 15.
Indians keep it on the ground with Grimes, who'll lose a yard. Penn Hills, they are determined
Brought down by number 51, Chris.
to make this work, aren't they?
Well, Penn Hills has to make sure that its offensive line can block well. I mean, we've seen North Hills already. North Hills' defensive line has already proven it can get penetration and apply pressure to Eddie McKissick. Penn Hills has to prevent that because a huge sack here could result in a harder field goal for Silverman if Penn Hills can't get in the end zone on this drive.
McKissick will throw. Over the middle, has a man. Pass complete inside the 10. Inside the 5, running to the corner of the end zone. Touchdown, Tony Grimes! Penn Hills takes its first lead of the night. Touchdown coming with 11:12 to go here in quarter number 4. Silverman to try the point after. And that'll get the kick away as the penalty flag comes in. Is it a penalty flag or a timeout? Offsides against North Hills. Now, if you're Penn Hills, you kick it, you take it on the kickoff.
Flag on the field. Encroachment. North Hills.
There's just going to be another opportunity for Penn Hills after the offsides. Good snap, good hold, kicks up, kicks good.
Like butter. 11:12 to go, 14-7. Penn Hills over North Hills here on the Trib Live High School Sports Network.
Every day The High School Sports Network has something new for high school football fans, including WPIAL and PIAA rankings, along with the district power rankings, 5 things to watch, and much, much more. Plus, check out the updated standings and district stats as well. Another update around the Northern Conference here in 5A. Mars 17, Hampton 0. Also, Shaler leading Fox Chapel.
Wait, wasn't that 13-0 Fox Chapel?
It was, and now it's 14-13. Shaler leads Fox Chapel. 8 minutes, 22 seconds left in the fourth quarter.
Oh, Nelly, what happened there?
Oh, Fox Chapel threw a couple interceptions, it seems.
Oh, Lord. Fourth quarter, you're up 13 points. What are you throwing for?
Well, that's where it stands. There's so much excitement, Bill, I can't handle it.
I'm telling you, it's the last week of the regular season. Anything could happen here.
Especially in the Northern Conference. Man.
Silverman's kick. Take McDonough inside the 5. It'll go into the end zone. It's an automatic touchback. Look, he was thought about running it out. But even though it went off his hands, hit on the green, rolled into the red, it's still a touchback.
I think just to be safe, he would have been ready to run it back out, which is good. But then once you hear the whistles, it's good to stop. But you never
Play the whistle.
Right, you never want to be too sure, and that's just when that couple of those Penn Hills plays happened where Penn Hills didn't jump on the ball and there was no whistle. Then North Hills got it back. The one punt that kind of rolled back around back in the first half, and then the one play where McKissick threw back to Howard and he dropped it, but it was behind the line of scrimmage, and then North Hills picked it up and got the ball back.
So now North Hills playing from behind for the first time tonight. Marker with McDonough behind him. It'll be McDonough. And Penn Hills lets him get to the outside with a first down across the 35 at the 37-yard line. 17 yards. And that's certainly the way North Hills wanted to respond.
Yeah, I've seen frequently in this game that North Hills has tried running the ball up the middle. Rarely have we seen them try to run it outside, maybe a couple jet sweeps here and there, but that's a play where the outside run ended up working and it got North Hills a substantial gain and a new set of downs.
McDonough tries the same thing this way. And Penn Hills is there. McDonough looked like he took a shot to the noggin from Dante Pollard on the way by. McDonough able to pick up a yard.
And that's again just where Penn Hills is hitting North Hills' offense hard from the defensive side, just being aggressive defensively and applying some pain on tackles.
Now, mentioned earlier, we haven't seen a lot of McDonough offensively. Got in here and there some plays, but not a steady dose of McDonough. He's one of the leading 529 yards coming into tonight. Now we're starting to see McDonough. It's at the point where North Hills is hoping that Penn Hills defense is worn down, and now they're going to try to pound him with Tom McDonough here. And North Hills uses a timeout to discuss, and we will all discuss amongst ourselves here. So timeout, 9:58 to go, fourth quarter. Penn Hills 14, North Hills 7.
Just an update on the standings once again. Penn Hills is in first place with a 6-0 conference record, 8-1 overall. North Hills is in second place as of this game with a 5-1 conference record, 6-3 overall. Mars, Fox Chapel, Kiski area, all tied for third place right now with 3-3 conference records and some mismatched overall records, but that doesn't matter as much. Shaler and Hampton tied for fourth with 2-4 conference records, and then Armstrong's in the basement with 0-6 conference records.
You could literally have, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams with 3-4 records in the conference.
Yep, because Armstrong, Kiski area is playing Armstrong, Mars playing Hampton, and Shaler playing Fox Chapel.
Now, what's Mars? Mars is what, up?
Mars is up 7-0 as far as I can see here. But I think I got an update on that one. I'll just double check as this play goes on.
Toss McDonough, left side. Penn Hills is there, and they'll drop him for a loss back. They're going to give him gracious progress at the 33. Still a loss of 5. Now it's 3rd and 14.
Yeah, so, the latest score on the Mars-Hampton game, it's 17-0 at the end of 3. Mars is leading Hampton.
So we'll just go with Mars winning that one. As I mentioned before, if Mars, even if they finish 6th in the conference,
they'll make playoffs.
They would be the wild card team in the playoffs.
And then that would make Hampton 2-5 in conference, which would pretty much eliminate their playoff hopes.
All right, anybody who loses tonight is except for Mars.
Or these two.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking about those teams down below. They're done. If you lose tonight, if you're Mars, Kiski, Shale, or Hampton, and you lose tonight, well, not Mars. Mars is in. If Fox Chapel loses, Kiski loses. Well, Kiski's not going to lose. But, if you win, you're in, is how it's going to go for.
Did you say that because Kiski's playing Armstrong?
Well, didn't you
the
say
winless team?
Did you say that Kiski was up big?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, it's 14-0.
North Hills gets the punt away. And it rolls, takes a Penn Hills bounce, then a North Hills roll, and it goes dead at the 41-yard line. So Penn Hills will have it with 8:28 to go with an opportunity to really put things away. Good field position at the 42-yard line. So let me see, Mars was up, 7? Or did you say 17?
17.
Excuse me, I'm just looking over at the scores. Is that West Allegheny on top of Moon?
Yeah.
Oh, Lordy.
It is. Let me try to get a more updated score on that one. But
Peters Township beating up on Baldwin. Hempfield 26, Plum 20.
Peters Township up 31 over Baldwin, 31-0.
Plum wins tonight. They could conceivably have a better record than a team that makes the playoffs, but I guess apparently tiebreakers goes with conference records.
Yeah, so that's the latest one we have here for that West Allegheny Moon game. But
West to refresh up there and see if
But West Allegheny's in desperation mode tonight. If West Allegheny doesn't win it, it will miss the playoffs for the first time since 2008.
McKissick keeps it himself. Across the 50, spins ahead, will have a first down. In North Hills territory at the 47-yard line, 7 yards.
This is where North Hills has to respond on defense. Now Penn Hills is moved into North Hills' half of the field. North Hills, to really stay in this game, has to prevent Penn Hills from scoring a touchdown on this drive. Because a touchdown and a field goal is a touchdown and a field goal is more manageable with 7 minutes left rather than 2 touchdowns.
Howard. He gets 4, and it looks like Penn Hill's intention is just try to grind it out and eat up the clock. There's a rule under 7 minutes to go here in the fourth.
And if you're hearing some music down on the field that's not marching band music, you are not mishearing that. Since it's senior night tonight, the Penn Hill staff has put a DJ down on the field, and all the cheerleaders, along with some other sideline officials, are dancing on the sideline, getting the student section pumped up.
Howard for another 4. Interesting. Let's see how much of that 40-second clock they use here, Nicholas.
Another update. Moon scored another touchdown and now leads West Allegheny 14-12 at the end of the third quarter.
Oh boy!
That game's going to come.
We spoke too soon, huh?
We did. But that game's going to come down to the fourth quarter, obviously. But it's a close score. Shaler 20-13 lead over Fox Chapel now. Fox Chapel led in the first quarter 6-0 and has only scored 1 touchdown since.
Howard will get the first down. Needed 2, got 2.
Howard on the carry. Tackled by
And that's a big game there. Shaler again up 20-13 over Fox Chapel. Fox Chapel is one of those teams tied for third place. Shaler is tied for fourth place right now with a 2-4 conference record.
Officials took a long time to wind that clock. Used up about 30 seconds of the play clock before they started the game clock. Thompson for a yard.
All right, Bill, let me repeat this one more time because I've got full context. Shaler is leading Fox Chapel 20-13 with under 2 minutes left in that game. And again, Shaler is tied for fourth place with a 2-4 conference record. Meanwhile, Fox Chapel's tied for third with 3 teams with a 3-3 conference record. So if Fox Chapel loses, it'll move down with Shaler and be tied for one of those bottom middle spots.
Shaler would have the nod because they beat Fox Chapel. So it's crazy. It's crazy. First and 5 after the North Hills offsides. Thompson again pounds ahead for 4. It'll be 2nd and 1.
Thompson on the carry.
Shaler recovered an onside kick after the touchdown.
Number 36, Bill.
And that's with under a minute and a half left.
That's daring.
That's incredible. That's the game then.
Yes,
That's
is.
almost a game.
They went for it and got it.
Holy smoke. The Northern Conference is making me lose my mind. Oh, such great games tonight.
I don't know.
This game's 14-7.
I'll be back here next Friday night, depending. Who knows? You know, first place, second place.
Holy
play.
mackerel.
Oh, Nelly. Oh, my. Howard cuts it up into the inside, gets inside the 25-yard line. We'll have a first down for Penn Hills at the 22-yard line, a gain of 9.
And play your results. And a Penn Hills. First down.
So for North Hills, it's time to buckle down, play aggressive defense, find a way to scare Eddie McKissick again, get him uncomfortable in the pocket, and make him force something that maybe he shouldn't.
The clock is not their friend right now because Penn Hills won't snap this until this rolls under 4 minutes.
But if you're Penn Hills, fundamentals are key here. Keep the ball. You don't need a hero play if you're Penn Hills. Just secure the football, keep it on the ground, run out the clock for as long as you possibly can, and beat North Hills.
Howard again. North Hills 2 timeouts left. Howard for 2. I got to tell you, you know what? You have to check the scoreboard tomorrow. Try to figure it all out. You know what? Go on Twitter. Look up Steelers and that.
Tackle by number
He has it all worked out. It's the best, just, again, at Steelers and that. He's got the best standings, got it all figured out. The Big 56 Conference does it as well. But, my favorite is Steelers and that and all the insight that he provides. Now, if you want deeper insight, of course, go to triblive.com. The Trib Live High School Sports Network.
That's hssn.triblive.com.
illegal procedure. Penn Hills.
Well, just talking about it, fundamentals, penalties are not favorable in this kind of situation. Penn Hills doesn't want to be giving up free yards to the North Hills defense.
Here's the thing, though. They get a fresh 25-second clock, though, and the clock starts again. So Penn Hills should really, they could have used more time on this. Snapped it back to Grimes, loses it, falls on it, heads up play by Tony Grimes. Have no gain.
And North Hills doing exactly what it should. North Hills playing aggressive and getting back inside the pocket, getting back into the backfield. And that's what it needs to keep doing as North Hills calls a timeout here. But this is what North Hills needs to keep doing, is finding a way inside the pocket in the backfield. And again, make McKissick uncomfortable with pressure.
Well, Penn Hills isn't going to throw.
And that's an advantage North Hills can have too, because if North Hills looks for the run and plays aggressive to the run, and Penn Hills is too afraid to throw an interception and throw the ball, North Hills has a slight advantage.
If you're Penn Hills, you're looking to try to maybe pick up 7-8 yards here. and not even to bring on Silverman, who could make it from this distance actually. But I think if you can get close within 5 yards of a first down, I think it would keep the offense on a go for it. Because North Hills would have to use their final timeout. And Penn Hills, if they make it on 4th down, you have a first down, and literally you could possibly run the clock out without even having to score.
But at the same time, points don't come off the board.
No, but I'm saying, then again, you're taking advantage of a blocked kick and whatnot. You're going to have to make North Hills go 80-plus yards to tie the game. And just like that, we're proven wrong. Penn Hills will throw underneath, pass complete down to the 15-yard line. They'll be short of the first down. It's Jamar Howard. 10 yards. And as we said, Penn Hills would be daring and throw.
And that was a daring play, but at the same time, I saw a couple backers and the entire defensive line converge into the center, which usually indicates that North Hills was cheating for the run, and Howard kind of just ran out of the backfield because he's the running back, and he caught that pass for a medium gain and put Penn Hills in a favorable position.
This should be 4th down. Everything's marked as 3rd, but it should be 4th. And Penn Hills will use a timeout.
Timeout, Penn Hills.
And with that timeout, just a scoring update for you. Shaler just scored a touchdown and leads 27-13 in the game against Fox Chapel. There are 36 seconds left in that Shaler-Fox Chapel game, but in all likelihood, Shaler is going to come out with a victory against Fox Chapel. So what that means is Fox Chapel's going to fall to 3-4 in conference. Shaler's going to move up to 3-4 in conference. And so Fox Chapel and Shaler will be tied for one of those 4th place spots. We have our first final, Bill. We have our first final. Shaler just scored with 36 seconds left, so that makes it 27-13.
Well, you got Shaler with 1.
Right. Fox Chapel trails that one. So again, Shaler and Fox Chapel now tied in conference records.
That's 27 4th-quarter points.
Yeah, Fox Chapel was leading the game 6-0 at one point.
13-0. They were up 13-0.
Right. Okay, they were up 13-0. And Shaler scored 27 unanswered points. And don't forget the onside kick that Shaler made. It was an onside squib kick that Shaler recovered and then scored another touchdown on top of that. So Northern Conference football in 5A. What excitement. Now there's 2 minutes, 20 seconds left in this game, and Penn Hills is leading North Hills 14-7. And it's 3rd down.
Now, Pat Carey's out talking to the official here. I think he's trying to tell him it's 4th down.
Yeah, a couple of officiating blunders in this game, and when it's a tough game, we understand the officials are humans.
Pat Carey's correct. We chart the plays here. We have, after the 9-yard run by Howard, is first down. Howard for 2. The false start for -5. Grimes on the fumble, which he recovered for no gain. And now the 10-yard pass. So the 2-yard, that's 3 plays. It should be 4th down.
The officials got to be on their game like the players have to be on their game. And this might go in Penn Hill's favor, but from all the indications we have, an extra down given to Penn Hills.
Broken play. McKissick comes this side, inside the 10-5. Touchdown, Penn Hills. Well, the point is moot on the down call. McKissick will seal this one with 2:13 to go. 15 yards for McKissick. And Penn Hills up 20-7.
And this is a spot where if North Hills wants any chance of coming back, North Hills will have to start moving to the air game, something that it just has not done well all season. I already talked about the passing stats for quarterback Dylan Pauling. Entering today, he's only 24 for 53 with 376 yards passing. As compared to McKissick, just as a comparison, McKissick is 69 for 124.
Kick is
with
up
over
good, by the way.
is up. McKissick is 69 for 124 with over 1,000 yards passing. Entering today's game, he's got 12 touchdowns as well. So North Hill's going to have to buckle down with the passing game. Like I said, Penn Hills, on the other hand, needs to play solid. Defense needs to prevent North Hills from scoring a touchdown, because if North Hills gets back within one possession, within one touchdown, then an onside kick comes back into play, and there are some scenarios that I'm certain Penn Hills wants to avoid and wants to not leave the fans or itself in suspense.
I got to tell you, through most of the first quarter, this looked like North Hill's game.
Yeah, North Hills came out strongly.
It was 7, even through 3. I mean, it was an even game. Penn Hills does not try the onside kick. We'll kick this one away, and we'll go into the end zone for the touchback.
And why Bill says that is because Shaler kicked one onside against Fox Chapel, and Shaler got the kick back, ended up scoring a touchdown, which sealed the game 27-13. And Shaler beat Fox Chapel in one of the many Northern Conference matchups tonight, and that just furthers the playoff drama.
So anyway, let's assume Penn Hills wins this game. They're up 14 with 2 minutes to go. Who gets the number 1 seed in 5A? You give it to Penn Trafford?
That's not an easy question. I got to think about that.
Do you give it to Penn Trafford, or do you give it to the defending champs, who have not lost a 5A game? Pass almost picked off by Pollard.
Incomplete. Broken up.
Now the other question is, do you really want to be the top seed? Because you're looking at Gateway being number 4. Very, very possibly.
Yeah,
unless you're looking at 3 and 4 being Moon and Peters Township, depending on what goes on over there.
Yeah, well, Peters Township and Moon are both tied with 5-1 conference records up in the Allegheny 8 Conference. Over in the Big East, Penn Trafford, as we know right now, is 5-0 in conference. Just another one of those top teams.
Marker rolls this way. Will get hit as he throws. And the pass short. It'll bring up 3rd down.
We have our second final in the Northern Conference. Mars 27, Hampton 7.
Oh, the planets are circling.
So that's it for Hampton. Hampton season's over after losing to Mars. But of course, Penn Hills, in all likelihood, if it can stop North Hills here, Penn Hills will win the conference in 5A, in the 5A Northern. So it's Penn Hills, Penn Trafford, and Peters Township, all the top 5A teams right now.
Marker throwing one downfield to pass. Almost picked off by Noah. Actually kind of broken up. Made a play on the ball. They bring up a 4th down with 1:58 to go. One timeout left for North Hills.
Pass was intended for Tyler Tomasic. And this is it. This is the play that is going to define this game. North Hills has under 2 minutes and has 1 down left to work with to score again. Penn Hills is 1 solid defensive play away from sealing the Northern Conference.
Marker, straight drop, looking downfield, steps up in the pocket, throws, has one downfield towards Tomasic. And the pass bounces off of Akeem Snell just as well, because Snell would have caught it at the 40-yard line. Instead, Penn Hills takes over at the 20. But I think if you're Penn Hills now with 1:50 to go, I come out and I take 4 knees.
Yeah,
whether that kills the clock or not, ends the game. I take 4 knees. Even if you give the ball back to North Hills with under 30 seconds to go, it's highly unlikely they're going to score 2 touchdowns.
Well, that's why it was so huge that Penn Hills scored that extra touchdown, its 3rd touchdown, to make it 21-7, because now Penn Hills has a 2-possession lead to work with, and North Hills would have to score twice, 2 touchdowns, as a matter of fact. So Penn Hills, no need to be risky, no need to be heroes if it wants to lock down this Northern Conference in this game against North Hills.
Thompson straight up the middle inside the 15-10, down to the 7-yard line.
Marlon Thompson on the carry.
Marker with the 8, picks up 12.
So the 3rd official final score in the Northern Conference. Shaler beats Fox Chapel 27-20. Fox Chapel scored as the horn went off in that game, but it didn't matter.
We're going to go with Mars, Kiski, and Shaler winning tonight.
Yeah, Kiski, as far as we know, still leading Armstrong, and Armstrong is winless in conference.
McKissick takes a knee. Takes it at the 11-yard line.
And evidently, Penn Hills has the resources now with little time on the clock and the lack of North Hills timeouts. Penn Hills has the resources to just take knees. And in all likelihood, in the next 45 seconds, Penn Hills will win its second straight Northern Conference. We'll take it in, folks.
That'll be it. They'll wind it down. That's the final play. And the clock will wind down. Penn Hills will remain the Northern Conference champion 2 years in a row. North Hills will be your runner-up. And then the hodgepodge of 3, 4, and 5.
3, 2, 1. It's official.
There you go.
Your final score. Penn Hills.
And there it is. So, it was 7-0 North Hills on North Hills opening possession. And they led until the fourth quarter in this game. Penn Hills, actually, no,
it was tied.
They led until just before halftime. And the game was tied coming into the fourth quarter. Penn Hills, that was mano a mano. It was, they were going toe-to-toe with the defending champs. And then Penn Hills just a couple of touchdowns in the fourth quarter to take the lead and then seal it.
Well, the running game for North Hills did come out strong, but Penn Hills adjusted nicely, used both a passing and a rushing attack to defeat North Hills in this one. So here's what we know right now. Penn Hills wins the conference, has now won 14 straight conference games, extending back to last season. So Penn Hills 7-0 in conference, wins the Northern Conference in 5A. North Hills officially finishes in second place with a 5-2 conference record, and unfortunately that streak of losing 2 conference games will remain. Talked about earlier how North Hills has lost, the last time it lost less than 2 conference games was back in 2010. Mars won its game. Now it's 4-3 in conference. Fox Chapel loses to Shaler. Shaler improves to 3-4 in conference. Fox Chapel falls to 3-4 in conference. Kiski area, in all likelihood, going to beat the winless in conference Armstrong with a 4-3 conference record. Armstrong will fall to 0-7. And then Hampton lost to Mars, so Hampton 2-5 in conference. Hampton is finished for the season. No playoffs for Hampton, but there's still playoff hopes. Penn Hills, North Hills, and Mars going to be in it. Fox Chapel, Kiski, and Shaler still up in the air where they're going to be. Hampton and Armstrong are done.
Well, now it's just a matter of who's going to go where and who's going to get what and who's going to be seeded. And there's going to be a lot of happy and unhappy people Monday night in the playoff pairings. Some teams will be seeded higher or lower than what they should be just because of some of the matchups that the WPIAL likes to avoid. They like to avoid rematches.
Yes.
In the first round, if possible. Although last year Penn Hills opened against Latrobe in round 1, and that was a rematch. But Latrobe, I think was was the wild card team or close to it. And I think Armstrong was a wild card team, but that was a conference opponent as opposed to number 15, who was Latrobe. So that's why they moved up Armstrong one.
Makes sense. And with this, really the news we can break to you is that Penn Hills is the conference champions in the Northern Conference. And and we'll wait to see how the seeding happens. Just some of the top teams around 5A. There's Peters Township and Moon. Both are tied with 5-1 conference records as of today, but Moon is losing to West Allegheny as far as we know, and we don't have a scoring update on Peters Township. Penn Trafford, 5-0, the conference leader in the Big East, and then, of course, Penn Hills. We've just found out by covering this game that Penn Hills is the Northern Conference champion. So we're looking at Penn Hills, maybe Penn Trafford, maybe Peters Township and Moon, all at the top of the 5A conferences right now. And look at that down there.
Those are your WPIAL 5A Northern Conference repeat champs, Penn Hills Indians.
And don't forget, I mean, it's incredible for a team not to lose any conference games as long as these guys have, not lose a game like that. Now, Penn Hills went undefeated last year, went undefeated not only in the regular season overall, but in playoffs as well. And we're looking at Penn Hills as the reigning PIAA 5A state champions. So keep that in mind, too. This team is near historic for what Penn Hills football has been all about.
They're now 25-0 all time in 5A.
And again, like what you're watching right now, just don't take for granted how historic this football team is that you're looking down there. The last year's team was slightly better just because of the undefeated overall record. But don't let that fool you, because this team down here is still very historic. Eddie McKissick has done a fine job as the quarterback of this team, taking over for Hollis Mathis, of all people, who was a near legendary quarterback for this Penn Hills team. But a lot of these pieces of the puzzle came together. The seniors stepped up, some of them in first-year roles as seniors, still filling the void of some of the graduates of this team, but still coming out and being strong. And if it wasn't for a Pine Richland loss in Week 0, this team would still be undefeated overall. But that's okay, because 14 straight conference wins dating back to 2018. So Penn Hills has went undefeated in conference 2018 and 19, and will be one of the top-seeded teams come 5A playoffs in the WPIAL.
Well, somebody next week's not going to be happy about having to come out here. Penn Hills in the John LaDon era has not lost a home game under John LaDon.
How long's he been coaching? Just remind me. I know somewhere.
3 years.
So that's 3 times, about 15, 16 games. Still pretty good.
Yep, absolutely. So once again, the final score here from Uhas McGinley Stadium in Penn Hills. Penn Hills Indians defeat the North Hills Indians by a score of 21-7. Penn Hills Indians are your conference champs. The North Hills Indians are your runners-up. And Monday night, we'll find out about who's zooming who and who's doing who. Join into the Trib Live High School Sports Network Monday night for the live playoff pairing show with Don Rebel and crew. Again, for my broadcast partner Nicholas Callis, I'm Bill Navari. Thank you for watching the WPIAL here on the Trib Live High School Sports Network.